Find a comfortable position now, whether you're lying down or curled up somewhere warm. Let your body settle into the surface beneath you and allow your eyes to gently close. Take a slow breath in and let it go. In and out. There's nowhere you need to be right now. Nothing you need to do. This moment belongs only to you. Let your shoulders soften. Feel the weight of the day beginning to lift from your jaw, from your hands, from the space behind your eyes. With each breath, you're drifting a little further from the noise of the world. Breathe in and breathe out. Imagine for a moment that the sky above you is deep and dark and full of stars. Ancient stars, older than any map or name, quietly watching over a world that has been turning for 10,000 years. You are safe here. You are held. And tonight, you are invited to travel. Welcome to Moonlit Dynasty, a collection of ancient stories from the heart of China. Tales of gods and heroes, of love and sacrifice, of the endless turning of the seasons. Stories that have been whispered for generations, carried by the wind across mountains and rivers, from the mouths of grandmothers to the ears of sleeping children. If these stories carry you gently to sleep, a subscription means the world to us and ensures the next story finds its way to you. Tonight, let one of those stories find you. Settle in, close your eyes, and let the old world carry you gently into the dark and into sleep. The road to Taoshan was not a road at all. It was a long unspooling of grass and stone and old wind, and Yang Jian walked it slowly, the way one walks toward something that has been waiting a long time. His white celestial hound, Xiaotianquan, padded at his side, neither ahead nor behind, matching his pace as though they shared a single heartbeat between them. The spear across Yang Jian's back caught the late afternoon sun and threw it softly back, a quiet flash among the wheatgrass. He had imagined this approach 1,000 times as a boy. In his imagination, the mountain had always been smaller. He had pictured himself running to it, climbing it, calling out. He had not understood then what a mountain was. Now he understood. Taoshan rose from the plain like the shoulder of a sleeping giant. It was not the tallest mountain in the world, nor the steepest, nor the most jagged. It was something worse. It was vast. It was the kind of vastness that made a god feel small. Yang Jian stood at its foot and felt his shoulders lower, not in defeat, but in the simple humbling of scale. He felt his armor become quieter on his body. He felt his breath fall in beneath the wind. He did not speak. The dog did not bark. The mountain did not notice them. He began to walk along its base. He let his hand trail against the stone as he went, the way a child trails fingers along a wall in a hallway at night, to know that the wall is there. The rock was warm where the sun had touched it, and cool in the shadow of the overhangs. Lichen grew in pale green and rust. A few small flowers had pushed themselves out of cracks where no flower should have been able to live, and somehow had. His third eye, the vertical eye at the center of his forehead, opened slowly. It did not blaze. It opened the way one opens a door in a quiet house, carefully so as not to wake anyone. Through that eye, he saw what no other eye could see: the seals. They lay across the mountain, like a great net of light. Old characters, written in the script of heaven, glowing very faintly, layered upon layer, knot upon knot. They were the seals of the Jade Emperor, set in place a lifetime ago, before Yang Jian had even been born. They were ancient, they were patient. They were not the kind of seals one undid by force. He walked. He read them as he went. His hand still trailed along the stone. Xiao Tianquan stayed close. He read the seals for what they were and what they were not. He saw the law in them, clean, precise, without cruelty and without mercy. He saw the long thought of the one who had written them. He saw, too, that they had not been written in anger. They had been written by a brother who could not see another way. Yang Jian did not let the thought soften him. He also did not let it harden him. He only kept walking and reading and listening. And the mountain went on until the sun began to lean toward the west, and the shadows of the cliffs grew long across the plain. He stopped, finally, on the southern face. He stopped because something there had spoken to him without sound. He could not yet say what it was. He only knew that here, his feet did not want to go any farther. He sat down. The dog sat beside him. The wind moved softly through the grass, and the mountain stood, and Yang Jian closed his ordinary eyes and let only the third one stay open, watching. He had all the time in the world. He had no time at all. He had finally arrived. He sat for a long time on the southern face before he understood why his feet had stopped him there. The light shifted. The shadows of the upper cliffs began to lengthen down the slope, and as they did, his third eye caught something he had missed before. Not a seal, not the work of heaven at all. A small, soft thing held inside the stone itself. He turned his head. He leaned closer. There, embedded in the rock as though the mountain had grown around it, was a chrysanthemum. A single flower pressed flat between layers of stone, its petals still the color of pale ivory, its center a faded gold. It looked impossible. A flower should not survive inside a mountain. A flower should crumble in a year, in a season, in a week. This one had not. It lay there in the rock, as though it had been placed in the pages of a book made of stone, and the book had closed gently around it and kept it safe. Yang Jian understood, after a moment, what he was looking at. His mother had put it there. He could not say how he knew. He simply knew. He saw, with his third eye, the very faint shimmer of her hand around the place where the flower lay. The kind of trace a person leaves on something they have touched with love. She had pressed the flower into the stone before the mountain had fully closed around her. She had marked the place where she stood. She had left a small sign that said, "Here, here I was. Here I am." Yang Jian did not move for a long time. He thought of his mother's hands as he remembered them. Long fingers. A jade ring on the smallest finger of her left hand. He thought of the way she used to tie flowers into his hair when he was very small, before he had words for what flowers were, before he had words for what a mother was. He thought of the chrysanthemums that grew in their garden when he was a child. Autumn flowers, late flowers, flowers that bloomed when other flowers had given up. She had chosen this one to leave behind. He reached out slowly and laid his palm flat against the stone over the pressed flower. The stone was warm. The chrysanthemum lay beneath his hand like a heartbeat that had stopped a long time ago, but had not yet faded. "Mother," he said very quietly, not as a cry, only as a word. Xiao Tianquan settled down beside him, with a soft thump of his weight against the earth. The dog rested his great white head on his paws. He did not whine. He did not bark. He only watched the mountain with his pale eyes, as if he too had been waiting for this moment for a very long time, and was content now to simply sit through it. Yang Jian did not weep. He had wept once, as a boy, more than any boy should weep, and he had learned the shape of his own grief so completely that it no longer had to come out through his eyes. Now it lived somewhere else in him, somewhere lower, somewhere steadier. It sat in his chest the way a stone sits at the bottom of a clear pool. You could see it. It did not move. The sun set. The sky turned the color of plums, then of slate. A few early stars opened above the ridge. He did not break the mountain that night. He did not even draw his spear. He sat beside the pressed chrysanthemum with his dog at his side, and he kept his hand on the warm stone, and he let the long evening pass over them like a slow tide. When at last he lay back to rest, he stayed close to that one spot on the southern face. He slept with his shoulder against the rock. In his sleep, he dreamed nothing in particular. He only felt that someone, somewhere on the other side of that stone, knew that he had come. In the morning, he did not strike the mountain. He stood and brushed the dust from his armor and looked up at the sky for a long while. Then he turned, and with Xiao Tianquan at his side, he walked away from Taoshan, toward the rising sun, toward the place where the road of mortals ended and the long invisible stair to heaven began. It is not a stair that mortals can see. It rises from a quiet meadow high in the western mountains, a meadow where the grass grows in slow circles and no animal grazes. A god approaching that meadow will feel the air thicken around them, and they will know to step upward, and the step will hold. There are no railings. There is no end you can see from the bottom. You simply rise, one step at a time, into thinner and thinner light. Yang Jian climbed. The dog climbed with him. Each step took them past a layer of cloud, and the clouds were of different kinds. First, the pale grey of morning fog, then the bright white of high summer, then a stranger cloud the color of mother of pearl that hummed faintly as he passed through it. He did not hurry. He had not hurried to the mountain. He would not hurry now. He thought as he climbed about what he would say. He had practiced no speech. He distrusted speeches. He had seen, in his training years with Yuquan Zhenren, that the people who spoke best at court were not always the people who were heard. He had decided long ago that he would say only what was true, and only as much of it as was needed, and that he would say it without raising his voice. At last, the stair leveled out onto a great courtyard of pale jade, and Yang Jian stepped into the lower precincts of the Celestial Palace. Word of his arrival traveled before he did. He felt it move. Heads turned in distant pavilions. Brushes paused above scrolls. A small ripple of attention passed through the immortals who oversaw the gates, and they stepped back as he passed, more out of surprise than out of respect. He was not what they had expected. They had perhaps expected a child still. The small, silent boy whose mother had been sealed into a mountain a lifetime ago. They had perhaps expected, if they had thought of him at all, that he had been broken by the years. Instead, they saw a tall young man in white and silver armor, walking with a measured stride, his three-pointed, two-edged spear held easily in his right hand, a great white hound padding silently beside him. The third eye on his forehead was closed now. He had closed it deliberately before entering the gates, the way a guest closes the gate behind himself, out of courtesy. But the place where it sat was still bright. It was the brightness of a banked fire. Anyone who knew how to look could see it. He passed under the second gate, and the third, and the great hall of the audience rose before him at last, a vast structure of white stone and dark beams, its roof curving up against the impossibly blue sky of heaven. Bells hung from the eaves and did not move, though the wind moved through them. He stopped at the foot of the steps. A herald approached. The herald was an old immortal in pale grey robes, his face neither friendly nor unfriendly, only practiced. "Name your business," the herald said, though everyone already knew. "I am Yang Jian," he said quietly, "son of Yaoji. I have come to ask audience with the Jade Emperor." The herald looked at him for a long moment. Then the herald bowed. Not deeply, only just enough, and turned, and the great doors of the hall began to open. The hall was deep, and the deep was quiet. Yang Jian walked the long aisle between the pillars without looking left or right. He felt the eyes of the assembled court on him. Ministers, generals, immortals of every rank, all of them suddenly very still, suddenly very interested in this young warrior who had appeared at the threshold of heaven without invitation. The marshal of the Western Quarter, who had known Yaoji in another age, set down his cup. The keeper of the calendar of stars actually turned in his seat. At the far end of the hall, raised on a dais of white stone, sat the Jade Emperor. He was as Yang Jian had pictured him, and not as Yang Jian had pictured him. He was vast. There was no other word. But it was not the vastness of size. It was the vastness of one who carried the weight of every law in heaven on his shoulders, and did not allow that weight to show in his face. His robes were gold, and the deep, almost black purple of an emperor. His crown was simple. His expression was nothing in particular. His eyes alone were difficult to look at, and Yang Jian did not try to look at them too long. Yang Jian reached the foot of the dais. He stopped. He held his spear upright at his side. Xiao Tianquan halted exactly when he halted, and stood at parade rest, his head high. Then Yang Jian knelt. He knelt on one knee. He did not press his forehead to the floor. He did not grovel. He bent only as much as one bends to a king, to whom one is also kin, which is to say with respect, but not with surrender. The court noticed. They did not breathe. "Uncle," Yang Jian said. He used the word deliberately. He did not begin with titles. He began with what they were to each other. The Jade Emperor did not react. He waited. "I have come to ask for my mother's release," Yang Jian said. His voice was not loud. The hall was so quiet that he did not have to make it loud. "She has been sealed inside Taoshan for the length of my life. The crime for which she was punished was love. It was not theft. It was not treason. She loved a mortal man, and she lived with him, and she bore him a son. That son stands before you now." He let the words rest a moment in the air. He did not push them. "I do not ask you to undo the law," he went on. "I know the law. I have read your seals on the mountain. They are written cleanly. I do not say that you were cruel. I say only that the law and the suffering of one person are not the same thing, and that a lifetime is enough. I ask you to lift the seal. I ask you as her son. I ask you as her brother's nephew. I ask you here, before your court, plainly, so that no one may say afterward that I went around you." He bowed his head then, not low, only a small bow, the punctuation of a sentence. For a long moment, the Jade Emperor said nothing. He looked at Yang Jian. He looked at the spear. He looked at the place on Yang Jian's forehead where the third eye sat closed. His expression did not change, but something in the line of his shoulders did, not softening exactly, settling. The settling of an old grief that had been sitting in him for a very long time, and that this young man had just stirred without meaning to. When the Jade Emperor finally spoke, his voice was lower than Yang Jian had expected. It was not the voice of thunder. It was the voice of someone who had stopped raising his voice a long time ago, because he had learned that he never needed to. "The law of heaven," he said, "is not a thing I bend, child. Not for blood, not for love. If I bent it for my sister, I would have to bend it for every immortal who came after her. And there would, in time, be no law at all. You understand this. You would not respect me if I bent it. You would not respect yourself if I bent it for you." Yang Jian did not lift his head. He did not lower it further. He held very still. "I understand," he said. "I cannot release her," the Jade Emperor said. There was a pause then, long enough for the bells outside to almost move, but not quite. The two of them, the uncle on the dais and the nephew on the stone, sat in the silence of two people who shared a grief that neither of them would ever say aloud. "I understand," Yang Jian said again. He rose. He bowed once more, the small bow, the punctuation. He turned. He walked the long aisle back, with Xiaotian Quan at his heel, and the doors opened for him, and he stepped out into the impossibly blue sky. The Jade Emperor watched him go. He did not call after him. He did not send a guard. He only sat very still on his throne, and somewhere behind his ancient eyes, something that had once been a brother thought of a sister and was quiet. He went back down the long, invisible stair. He did not look behind him. He returned to Taoshan the way he had come, through the mortal world, walking, because walking gave him time, and time was what he needed. Xiaotian Quan walked beside him. The wheatgrass bent in the same wind it had bent in before. Nothing in the world had changed. Nothing in him had changed either, exactly. Something had only become clear that had been unclear before, the way water becomes clear after a stone has finished falling through it. He had not gone to the Jade Emperor expecting to succeed. He had gone because it was the correct order of things, to ask first before acting. He had said so to himself many times in the years of his training. You do not act before you ask. You ask and you wait for the answer. And only then, if the answer is the wrong one, do you act. The answer had been the answer he had expected. He could now act. He arrived at the mountain in the late afternoon of the second day. The light was the same gentle gold it had been when he had first come. The pressed chrysanthemum was still in the stone. He went to it. He laid his hand once more on the warm rock above it. He stood like that for a few breaths, then stepped back. He opened his third eye fully. The seals lit up across the face of Taoshan, the great glowing net of celestial script. He did not look at all of it. He looked only at one place, the seam he had found on his first slow walk around the mountain, the one place where the net of the seals did not quite tie shut. It was not a flaw. It was not a mistake. It was something else. It was the place where the mountain breathed. Every prison, he had come to understand, must breathe somewhere, or the thing inside it dies, and a prison whose prisoner is dead is no longer a prison. The Jade Emperor had not wanted his sister to die. He had only wanted her sealed. So there was a seam, a small, thin, almost invisible seam, where the seals overlapped imperfectly, where the breath of the goddess inside could pass slowly out, and the breath of the world could pass slowly in. His third eye showed it to him as a single bright line, hair-thin, running from the southern face up toward the eastern shoulder. It passed almost directly through the place where the chrysanthemum lay. Yang Jian drew his spear. He did not raise it high. He did not shout. He set his feet at the proper distance from the stone, the distance he had practiced 10,000 times in the cave of Yuquan Zhenren. And he let his breath fall in, and he let his arms rise. The first strike was almost gentle. It was not gentle in force. The spear rang against the stone with a sound that traveled for miles, and the mountain shuddered along its whole length. But it was gentle in intention. He did not strike to break. He struck to begin. The 3 points of his spear bit into the line his third eye had shown him, exactly along the seam, and the first crack opened in the rock like a sigh. He lowered the spear. He stepped close. He laid his palm against the stone. The stone was warmer than before. She had felt it. He could tell. Somewhere inside, his mother had felt the first blow, and she had not flinched. She had only turned her face toward it, the way a sleeper turns toward a hand on their shoulder. He stepped back. He raised the spear again. The second strike, the third, the fourth. He did not hurry. He was not angry. He was not even, in the human sense, fighting. He was doing a slow piece of work that needed to be done, the way one chops wood in winter, the way one digs a well in summer. Each strike found the seam. Each strike opened it a little farther. Between each strike, he rested. Between the 7th and the 8th, he stopped for a long while and simply leaned his forehead against the stone. He closed his eyes, even the third one. He listened. Inside the mountain, very faintly, he heard humming. A small melody. A song his mother had sung to him when he was a child. A lullaby about a fox in a field of pumpkins. He had not heard it in over a lifetime. He kept his forehead against the stone. He breathed. He did not cry. The humming went on, very soft, very steady, like a hand stroking his hair. After a time, he stepped back and raised the spear again. Xiao Tianquan lay nearby, watching, his great white head on his paws. He did not move. He did not whine. He understood, in the way of dogs, that what was happening was not a fight. It was a homecoming. It was only happening through stone. The mountain rang and rang and rang under the slow, steady strikes of the divine spear. And the seam grew, and the chrysanthemum waited in the rock, and the afternoon turned slowly into evening, and Yang Jian did not stop. He worked through the night. He did not need to. He could have rested and resumed in the morning. But he had found a rhythm in himself that did not want to stop, and he trusted the rhythm. He had learned, in his years on the mountain with Yuquan Zhenren, to distinguish the rhythms that came from anger from the rhythms that came from somewhere deeper. And this one came from the deeper place. It came from the same place that breathed in him. He let it lead. The moon rose. It was almost full, and it laid its pale light across the broken seam on the southern face like a long white finger pointing the way. Yang Jian struck along the line. He stepped back. He rested his palm against the stone. He felt for her warmth. He found it. He struck again. The work was not quick. Each strike opened only a small new piece of the seam. The seals of the Jade Emperor had been written carefully, and they did not yield to a single blow, or to 10, or to 100. They yielded the way ice yields in early spring, slowly, slowly, and then all at once. Yang Jian had decided long ago that he would do the slowly part well. The all at once would come when it came. Between strikes, he spoke to her. Not aloud exactly. He did not trust his voice to carry through the mountain, but in his mind. He told her about the cave where he had trained. He told her about the cold floor of the meditation chamber, and the way his master had laughed when he had finally managed the first transformation. He told her about Xiaotian Quan, how the dog had come to him from a litter of clouds, how the dog already knew his name before he had given one. He told her about the day his third eye had opened, and how he had been afraid of it, and then not afraid. He did not tell her about his father. Not yet. There would be time for that later, or there would not be. Either way, not now. Inside the mountain, his mother listened. He could feel her listening. He had spent so many years of his life listening for her that he could recognize her listening from anywhere, even through a wall of celestial stone. Her listening had a quality of stillness that was unlike anyone else's. It was the stillness of someone who had been alone for a long time and who had learned in that aloneness to hear everything. She was not afraid. He could feel that too. She had been waiting for him. She had perhaps been waiting in this exact posture, in this exact place behind this exact stone, since the day his small child's hand had first touched the mountain. She had known then that he would come back. She had known then that the next time his hand touched the stone, it would not be a child's hand. She had been right. He struck again. He rested. He laid his palm against the warm stone. He struck again. Hours passed. He did not count them. The moon moved slowly across the sky. Xiao Tianquan slept and woke and slept again, the way the dog had learned to do on long watches. The seam grew. The chrysanthemum lay in the rock. The mountain rang and grew quieter and rang again. Far above, in the clouds beyond the celestial palace, the court of heaven had begun to gather to watch. They did not say anything to each other. They simply came, one by one, to the edge of the high terraces, and they looked down through the parting clouds at the small, bright figure of the young warrior at the foot of Taoshan. and they watched the seam grow. The marshal of the Western Quarter watched. The keeper of the calendar of stars watched. The old immortals who had once been Yaoji's friends watched, and one of them, very quietly, began to weep. The Jade Emperor watched, too. He stood on the highest terrace, alone. His hands were folded inside his sleeves. His face was, as it always was, nothing in particular. No one would have been able to say what he was thinking. No one tried. He could have sent someone down. He could have sent 1,000 someones. He could have closed the seam with a single word. Even now, even with all the cracks his nephew had made. He did not. He stood at the edge of the terrace and watched the slow work of opening. And he did not move. And he did not speak. And the wind of heaven moved his sleeves only a little. Below, on the mountain, Yang Jian struck again. And the seam grew, and the night went on. Toward dawn, the mountain began to break. It did not break the way mountains break in stories. There was no thunder. There was no great roar. There was, instead, a series of small, deliberate sounds. A crack here, a crack there, a long, slow groan that rolled from the eastern shoulder down through the bones of the rock and out into the plain. The sounds were almost gentle. They were the sounds a great house makes when it settles in the night, only larger. Yang Jian stepped back to watch. The seam he had been working all night had widened from a hair to a finger to the width of his palm. It ran from low on the southern face up toward the eastern shoulder, exactly where his third eye had first shown it to him. Where his spear had struck, the stone was bright with a faint gold light, the light of the broken seals slowly releasing their grip. The light did not flare. It only seeped out, the way warmth seeps from a stone that has been sitting in the sun. He did not strike again. He had understood, sometime during the night, that there was a moment when one had to stop striking and let the mountain do the rest. The seam had become wide enough. The seals had become thin enough. What had to happen now would happen of its own, and any further blow from him would be only impatience. He had not come this far to be impatient. He laid his spear down on the grass. He stepped close to the mountain. He pressed both his hands against the stone, one on either side of the chrysanthemum, and he waited. The mountain trembled. Small chips of rock began to fall from the upper face. He did not move. The chips bounced against his armor and rolled away into the grass. Xiaotian Quan stood up at last. The dog walked over and stood beside him, pressing his great white shoulder against Yang Jian's leg. A long crack opened upward from the seam. A slow, splitting line that climbed the face of Taoshan, as though something inside were drawing it with a finger. The crack reached the eastern shoulder. It reached the high ridge. It paused there for a moment, almost politely, as though asking permission to continue. Yang Jian did not speak. He only kept his hands on the stone. The crack continued. It opened all the way to the top of the mountain. And then, slowly, the great rock face on the southern side began to lean outward, not to fall, to open, like the page of an enormous book. The stone groaned again, deeply, almost contentedly, the way a person groans when they finally stretch after a long sleep. Light came in through the opening. Yang Jian could see it now, not with his third eye, but with his ordinary eyes, a pale gold light deep inside the mountain, where no light should have been able to reach. The light moved. The light had a person in it. He let his hands fall from the stone. He took a step back. He did not call out. He did not raise his arms. He stood very still in his white and silver armor, with his 3 eyes open. And he watched. A hand came through first. It came through the crack at about the height of his chest, reaching out slowly. The fingers spread the way fingers spread when they have not touched the open air in a very long time and are testing whether the air is still there. It was a slender hand. It was a hand he had known once and forgotten, and known again from across a wall of stone for a whole night. There was a jade ring on the smallest finger of the left hand. Yang Jian reached out, and he took her hand. He took it gently, with both of his hands, and he held it. He did not pull. He did not need to. He only held it, and let her feel that he was there, and let himself feel that she was there. And the two of them stood like that on either side of a crack in a mountain, with their fingers laced together, for what might have been a moment, and might have been an hour. Above them, on the high terraces of heaven, the assembled court did not breathe. The Jade Emperor closed his eyes, just once, just for the length of a single breath. Then he opened them again, and he watched, and he did not move. Inside the mountain, his sister stepped forward into the light. The stone parted to let her through. The seals, undone now, lay across the rock like the rusted links of a chain that had finally been laid down. Yaoji emerged. She was as she had been. She was a goddess. She did not age. Her hair was still long and black. Her robes were still white and jade, though the white had taken on the soft cream of long, quiet years. Her face was the face Yang Jian had seen in his memory every night of his life. Except that now, instead of looking down at a small boy, it looked across at a young man in white and silver armor, with 3 eyes and a spear lying in the grass behind him, and a great white hound at his side. She did not weep. He did not weep. They had both done their weeping a lifetime ago. She took one more step forward. She laid her free hand against his cheek. The sun rose. For a long time, neither of them said anything. They were not silent because there was nothing to say. They were silent because there was too much, and they both understood that words, if they came too soon, would not be the right words. They would only be the first words. And the first words, after a lifetime of waiting, are rarely the ones you want to keep. So they stood at the broken edge of the mountain in the new sunlight, and his mother's hand rested against his cheek, and her other hand was still held in both of his. The light of dawn spread across the plain. Birds began somewhere, small mortal birds, the kind that do not know about goddesses and mountains and seals, that only know about the morning. Yaoji's eyes moved over his face very slowly. She looked at his jaw, where the shape of him was no longer the shape of the boy she remembered. She looked at his mouth, which had become his father's mouth somewhere along the way. She looked at the place on his forehead, where the third eye sat open and shining softly gold. She looked at the third eye for a long time. Her expression did not change much. Goddesses do not show feeling the way mortals do. They show feeling by what they do not show. But Yang Jian, who had spent his whole life looking for her, knew how to read her. He saw her notice the eye. He saw her understand what it meant. What training, what stillness, what discipline, what loss. He saw her close her own eyes for a moment, the way one closes one's eyes against something that is too bright, not because it hurts, but because it is beautiful. She opened her eyes. "It suits you," she said. Her voice was lower than he remembered, and softer, the way voices become softer when they have not been used very much for a very long time. But it was her voice. He had carried it inside his chest for so many years. It had become indistinguishable from his heartbeat. Now it was outside him, in the air. And the morning was very quiet, and the mountain stood broken behind them, and neither of them moved. She had carried his voice inside her too. It came to her now from across the small distance between their faces. A man's voice, low, quiet, careful with itself. Not the voice of the boy who had called for her from the foot of the mountain a lifetime ago, but the same voice underneath, the same listening underneath the listening. "Mother," he said. He had said it once before, the night he had found the chrysanthemum. He said it now in the open air, with her hand on his cheek, and the word came out the same way it had then. Not as a cry, only as a word, the simplest word he had ever spoken, and the one that had taken him the longest to say. "Yes," she said. That was all she said for a while. She kept her hand against his cheek, and he kept her other hand held in both of his. And they stayed like that. The sun climbed a little higher. The light on the broken stone behind her turned from pale gold to a warmer color, the color of honey held up to a window. Xiao Tianquan padded forward. The great white hound came up between them, neither shy nor presumptuous, the way dogs come up to people they have already decided to love. He did not jump. He did not bark. He simply walked into the small space between Yang Jian's boots and the hem of Yaoji's robe, and he lay down there, slowly, with a long, contented sigh, and he laid his head across both of their feet, one paw resting on Yang Jian's foot, his chin resting on the embroidered edge of Yaoji's slipper. Yaoji looked down at him. She let her hand fall from her son's cheek, slowly, and she reached down and touched the dog's head between the ears. Xiao Tianquan closed his eyes. His tail, which had been very still, thumped once against the grass. Only once, a single soft greeting, and then was still again, as though he were too dignified to make more of a fuss than that on a morning like this one. "This is yours," Yaoji said. She was still looking at the dog. "His name is Xiao Tianquan," Yang Jian said. "He has been waiting too," she said. "Yes." She knelt then. She knelt slowly, the way a goddess kneels, without losing any of her grace, without seeming to lower herself at all. She brought her face down close to the dog's face, and she said something to him that Yang Jian did not hear and did not need to hear. The dog's tail thumped once more. Then she stood again, just as slowly, and she turned her attention back to her son. This time, she looked at the third eye. She lifted her hand and very gently touched the place on his forehead just below it. Not the eye itself, only the skin beneath it. Her fingertips were cool. He did not flinch. He had not let anyone touch him there, not ever. He had not been able to imagine letting anyone touch him there. But this was his mother's hand, and his mother's hand was the hand that had tied flowers into his hair when he was very small, and there was no part of him that wished to move away. "Yuquan taught you," she said. It was not a question. "Yes, he's a good teacher. He is. I am glad," she said, "that someone good was there." She let her hand fall. She looked then past him. She looked at the plain rolling out from the foot of the mountain. She looked at the wheat grass moving in the wind. She looked at the small mortal birds turning in the sky above a farmhouse far away. She did not weep, but her eyes shone, and she stood for a long while, simply looking at the world she had not seen with her own eyes in a lifetime. "It suits you," she said again after a while. He did not ask what she meant. He understood. She meant the eye. She meant the armor. She meant the spear in the grass and the dog at their feet, and the quiet way he had become the man she had hoped. In her long, silent years inside the stone, that he might become. He bowed his head a little. He did not answer. There was no answer to give. The sun climbed. They did not speak again for a long time. They sat down together at the foot of the broken mountain, on a flat stone warmed by the sun, and they let the morning continue without them. Xiao Tianquan moved only enough to readjust his head from their feet to Yaoji's lap, where he laid his great white chin across her knee, and closed his eyes, and slept the deep, contented sleep of a creature whose long watch is finally over. Yaoji rested her hand on his head. With her other hand, she held her son's hand. She did not look at him constantly. She seemed to understand that constant looking would be too much for either of them. Instead, she looked at the plain, at the sky, at the way the light moved on a far hill, and she returned her gaze to his face only every little while, as one returns to a beloved page in a book one is reading slowly. It was mid-morning when the messenger came. He came down the long, invisible stair, and the place where the stair met the earth was not far from where they sat. A quiet meadow on the western side of the plain, where the grass grew in slow circles. Yang Jian saw him from a distance. He recognized the pale grey robes. It was the herald who had spoken to him at the gates of the celestial palace. The herald walked across the plain toward them at the unhurried pace of one who knows he is not bringing a summons that will be refused. He carried nothing in his hands. He stopped at a respectful distance and bowed to Yaoji first, and then to Yang Jian. And the bow he gave Yaoji was deeper than any bow Yang Jian had seen given in heaven. "My lady," the herald said, "welcome back." Yaoji inclined her head. She did not speak. She had the bearing of someone who had once known how to receive heralds, and had not, in all the years inside the mountain, forgotten. The herald turned to Yang Jian. "The Jade Emperor asks," he said, "if you would consent to return to the audience hall. Not as a petitioner, as a guest." Yang Jian looked at his mother. She did not tell him what to do. She only met his eyes, and her gaze was clear, and he saw in it that she trusted him to choose. He saw also, beneath that, the quiet question of whether he had any fight left in him, and the quieter answer that whether he did or did not, she would walk with him either way. "I will come," Yang Jian said to the herald. "My lady is also asked." "I will come," Yaoji said. The herald bowed again. He stepped back. He waited. Yang Jian rose. He helped his mother rise, though she did not need help. He offered his hand, and she took it because he had offered it. Xiao Tianquan stretched himself slowly, the long, full stretch of a dog who has slept well. And he stood and shook the grass from his fur and looked up at them, ready. They left the spear. This was Yaoji's small suggestion. She did not say it as an order. She only looked at the spear lying in the grass and said, "Perhaps it can rest a while." And Yang Jian understood. He bent and picked up the spear and laid it carefully in a hollow at the foot of the broken stone, where the chrysanthemum still lay in its small cradle of rock. He laid the spear beside the flower, the way one lays down a tool beside a finished piece of work. He turned. He took his mother's arm. They walked across the plain toward the meadow, where the long, invisible stair began to rise. The herald walked ahead of them at a polite distance. Xiao Tianquan walked between them, his shoulder brushing first Yaoji's hem and then Yang Jian's boot, as though to be sure that both of them were still there. The stair held them as they stepped onto it. It always held those who had been invited. They rose together through the clouds. First the pale grey, then the bright white, then the stranger cloud the colour of mother of pearl. Yaoji did not flinch at any of them. She had climbed this stair before, many lifetimes ago, when she had been young enough not to know yet that one could fall from it. She climbed it now without speaking, with her son's arm under her hand and her son's white hound at her hem, and the light grew thinner, and the high palace of heaven opened slowly above them, like a flower made of stone. The hall was the same hall it had been. The pillars were the same pillars. The bells hung from the same eaves and did not move. The assembled court stood in the same places they had stood in the day before. Only now they stood, instead of sitting. They had risen when Yaoji entered the hall. None of them had been asked to. They simply had. The marshal of the Western Quarter, who had known her in another age, bowed so low that his forehead nearly touched his folded hands. The keeper of the calendar of stars wept openly and did not pretend otherwise. The old immortals who had been her friends stepped forward, one and then another, and they did not speak, only met her eyes as she passed, and each of them received from her the smallest inclination of the head, which from a goddess is everything. Yang Jian walked beside her. He did not look at any of them. He looked only at the dais at the far end of the hall, where the Jade Emperor was already standing. The Jade Emperor was standing. He had not been standing the day before. Yang Jian noted this without making anything of it. He understood that it was not for him. It was for the woman beside him. The Jade Emperor stood at the front of his dais in his gold and imperial purple, and he watched his sister walk the long aisle between the pillars, and his face was as it always was, nothing in particular, but he stood. They reached the foot of the dais. Yaoji did not kneel. Yang Jian did not kneel either this time. He had knelt yesterday, and the kneeling had been finished. They both bowed, the small bow, the punctuation of a sentence. The Jade Emperor returned the bow with the smallest inclination of his head. He looked at his sister for a long moment, He did not apologize. He would never apologize. The law of heaven did not apologize, and he was the law of heaven, and they all knew this and accepted it. What he did instead was hold her gaze, and let her hold his, and not look away. It was, from him, more than most gods had ever received. Yaoji inclined her head once more. The matter between the two of them was closed in the way such matters close. Not finished, only set down, the way one sets down a thing too heavy to carry any further. The Jade Emperor turned his eyes to Yang Jian. "Nephew?" he said. Yang Jian bowed again. "You came to me first," the Jade Emperor said. "You asked. You waited for my answer. You received it. Then you acted." He paused. "I would not have respected you if you had done otherwise. I would not have respected myself, uncle." "No, you would not." The Jade Emperor was quiet for a moment. "You opened the mountain along the seam. You did not break it where it was strong. You broke it where it had been left to breathe. Yes, that was well done." Yang Jian did not answer. There was no answer to that either. "Heaven has a place," the Jade Emperor said, "for one who acts as you have acted. Heaven needs such a one. The borders of the world are wide, the disorders are many. I would not have you idle." He paused. "I would name you Divine Warrior of Heaven. The title is mine to give. The duty is yours to take or to refuse." The hall was very quiet. Yang Jian considered. He did not consider for long. He had thought about this on the long walk back to the mountain, without knowing he was thinking about it. He had understood, somewhere on the road, that whatever happened after the seam opened, his mother would still be his uncle's sister, and his uncle would still be the law of heaven, and a freedom that depended on the goodwill of a single god was not yet a freedom. A title from heaven was a shield. A title from heaven was a place to stand on which the law could not easily be turned again. He was not accepting forgiveness. There was nothing to forgive and nothing to be forgiven. He was accepting a roof. "I will take the duty, uncle," he said. "Then it is yours." The Jade Emperor lifted his hand. Something passed in the air of the hall, not visible, not audible, only felt, the way a season changes. The title settled onto Yang Jian's shoulders, the way the armor had once settled onto them in Yuquan Zhenren's cave. It did not weigh him down. It only fit. He bowed once more. His mother's hand was on his arm. The court bowed back. There is a garden at the edge of heaven, where the clouds part, and one may look down at the mortal world. It was the garden Yaoji had stood in, a lifetime ago, on the day she had first looked down and seen the man who would become Yang Jian's father. The chrysanthemums grew there still. They grew in long, slow rows along the low jade wall, pale ivory at their petals, and faded gold at their hearts. The same flower she had pressed into the stone of Taoshan on the day the mountain had closed around her. She walked there now with her son. The day had grown long. The audience was over. The court had dispersed. The Jade Emperor had withdrawn to wherever the Jade Emperor withdrew to, and the high terraces of heaven had emptied of all but the wind. Yang Jian had set aside his armor for the evening. He wore a simpler robe of pale grey and silver, and his spear was not with him. The third eye on his forehead was closed. The other two looked only at his mother. She walked slowly. She had not walked in a garden in a very long time. She let her hand trail along the tops of the chrysanthemums as she went, the way her son had trailed his hand along the stone of Taoshan, and the flowers bent under her touch and rose again behind her. Xiaotian had run ahead. The great white hound, who had been so dignified all day, who had lain across their feet and walked between them, and never so much as wagged his tail more than once at a time, had finally, in the quiet of the garden, allowed himself to be a dog. He bounded between the rows of chrysanthemums, his ears up, his tail high, his luminous coat flashing in and out of the late light. He stopped now and then to look back at them, to be sure they were still coming. And then he ran on again. Yaoji watched him and smiled. It was the first smile Yang Jian had seen on her face. It was small. It was tired. It was the smile of someone who had remembered, after a long time, that smiling was one of the things faces did. They came to the low jade wall. Below the wall, the clouds parted, the way they were trained to part in this place, and the mortal world lay spread out beneath them, like a long, quiet scroll. There were rivers, there were fields, there were small villages with smoke rising from their chimneys. The light of evening was on all of it, soft and ordinary and kind. Yaoji rested her hands on the top of the wall. She looked down. She did not look down for long. She had looked at the mortal world for many years, once, and she had loved what she'd seen there, and what she had loved had cost her a mountain. She had finished her looking down. She turned, and she looked at her son. "This is where I stood," she said. "I know. I do not need to stand here anymore." He nodded. He understood. He understood also that she had brought him here so that he would know, so that the place would not be a secret, so that he could come here himself if he ever wished, and stand where she had stood, and see what she had seen. She turned away from the wall. She took his arm. They walked back along the rows of chrysanthemums. Xiaotian came bounding back to them and fell into step at Yaoji's other side, his tongue out, his eyes bright. The light grew softer. The sky over the high terraces turned the color of plums and then of slate, the same way it had turned on the night Yang Jian had first laid his hand on the stone of Taoshan. Far below, where the mountain had stood, there was now only a long, low ridge of broken rock, and grass beginning already to grow over it, and the small mortal birds turning in the sky above where the seam had been. The seals were gone. The chrysanthemum lay in the rubble, still ivory at its petals, still faded gold at its heart. The spear lay beside it. Yang Jian and his mother walked slowly through the garden at the edge of heaven, and the white hound ran ahead and circled back and ran ahead again, and the light went on softening. And somewhere very far away, a bell rang once and was still. She rested her head briefly against his shoulder. He did not move. The evening came down over the high terraces, the way evenings come down. Slowly, slowly. And then, all at once,